All right, everybody. So over the last year, I have spent $127,000 on vehicles. So I don't know where my head is at. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how much money I've spent on cars and exactly what is wrong with my head. So when I left Alabama, I was kind of traumatized basically, and I wanted to just live my life and enjoy whatever life had given me, because I realized in Alabama that you can save up a lot of money and you can have a lot of wealth, but if life comes to an end, well, you can't really take it with you. So I started to enjoy life on a level I had not enjoyed yet. Traveling, cars, just kind of, what's the term? Splurging out like an idiot, really. Before, I had a nice Chevy truck. It was old, it was beat up, and if I crashed into a tree or scratched it, it didn't really bother me because it was just an old truck. When I was up in Alabama, I had the Yukon SUV, and that was really a practical car. It made a lot of sense. At that time, I had two GMCs that were kind of perfect for what I needed. So I come back to Florida and I bought a truck. It was a 2021 Silverado or 22, I can't even remember. And this thing had 0 miles, and we paid $46,000 out the door, cash money. But I was actually really disappointed. I think one of the lessons that I want you guys to learn from this video is that money really doesn't bring happiness. You think going into a dealership and buying the car of your dreams, cash money, just here's the money, take it, whatever, no big deal. Actually, it's more like $132,000 because I also bought a trailer. But at the end of the day, like, you don't really get happiness from doing these things. Like, you can have a lot of material things and feel really empty inside. Nonetheless, it's been an interesting experience to go through that kind of money and just splurge out with absolutely no defined limits. I feel it made me a better person. And I know that sounds contrary to common sense, that spending this kind of money would make you a better person. And I think it really did, because I realized that money comes, money goes, and before I was being kind of greedy and hoarding the money, and I was afraid to take risk. And in life, you just gotta live and you gotta enjoy. So like, I don't really resent what I did in any way. I know that sounds kind of crazy. I feel like it made me a better person because I disconnected my emotion from my money. Like, before, my money, my net worth was my emotions, and now I disconnected those things. If I run out of money, I gotta go work, but working and emotions don't really correlate. And I also learned, like, one of the greatest lessons in my life, which is basically that you're, like, who you are as a person, your internal happiness has nothing to do with how much money you got. When you wake up in the morning, whether you're homeless or you wake up in a mansion, you are the same person. Your values, your convictions, everything that makes you the person you are is not determined by how much money you have. So if you're letting your money, whatever your net worth is, like if you walk outside and you're like, well, I have $1 million, like I'm untouchable, I don't have to ever work for somebody else again, or you feel any of those ways, or like you own real estate and you feel like the people that are renting from you are less human than you, whatever your case may be, you're truly mistaken. Like, the person you are is separate from the money you own. I came very close to losing everything. So I recognized that if I came back to having nothing at all, like I had absolutely nothing to show for it, would I be a miserable person? Because a lot of times when you have a lot of money and you lose every last bit of it, you might feel like for some reason or another, now you're less of a human without that money. So the notion of saying, okay, let's go out there and let's spend all this money, and now without the money, I can discover the person I really am, because the money was shaping who I was. And I feel that now that I've spent all this money, I'm starting to see the person that I am underneath all of the materialistic assets. So the pickup truck and the trailer were kind of purchases that I made to try to start a junk removal business, but I wasn't believing in myself. At that point, when I bought that truck and that trailer, I still wasn't believing in myself. When I went and I decided that I'm going to start going to New York City and go to Michigan traveling, that's when I believed in myself, because at this point I wasn't believing in me. I was still trying to like start a business. I wasn't really focused on my YouTube channel. Like at this point, I just wasn't believing in myself. So I got rid of that pickup truck because they had a bunch of problems. It was like leaking oil and whatever. So I moved on to another pickup truck. This pickup truck was $26,000, but with taxes, tags, and Florida fees, it came out to like $31,000 out the door. I sold it for 22 to a dealership in Naples, but I spent close to $40,000 on this truck. The wheels were like $6,000. The sound system was like $3,000, and I miss this truck so much. Like the big wheels, the sound system. I also put 20,000 miles on this truck. We went all the way to Colorado with this truck, so I really enjoy this truck thoroughly. It was very reliable, never let me down. It was a GMC 2500 with that 6.0 engine. I really miss this truck, and sometimes I even consider trying to buy it back, but I just don't need it. It was a complete gas hog, and once I put those mud grips on it, you weren't going to go anywhere in this truck other than mudding or just hanging around the neighborhood. During this time period, I ended up buying a ATV. It was a Honda Recon 250. I got it brand new out of the dealership in Orlando, Florida. It was $6,400 out the door, and this was probably the best money I ever spent my entire life. More fun than any car, more fun than any boat, canoe, anything. If you want to spend some money on something and have fun, get yourself an ATV. And the Honda 250 was perfect. One, because it was brand spanking new, and two, because it was very lightweight and agile. It was just a lot of fun, and in the neighborhood that I lived in, I could literally drive it at 2 in the morning and nobody would call the cops. Literally, some of the best memories of my life are going to be driving that ATV through Lehigh Acres at night, all ski masked up, doing dirt roads and just going in the water and running into a coyote or a hog at night in the middle of the woods. Like, memories for a lifetime made in Lehigh Acres on that ATV. I kid you not, lifetime memories. That ATV in Lehigh Acres was the best money I ever spent. I sold it to a guy out of Arcadia for like $3,000, so I lost $3,400. No problem losing that money. All right, so finally I started to make logical sense, and I bought a Toyota Camry. I financed this vehicle. I didn't pay for it cash. That was different. Trying to build up my credit, so I got this Toyota Camry, because at this point we're coming back from Alabama. We still don't have our credit together. We have to build our credit so we can buy a house, because the money we brought from Alabama wasn't enough to buy a house. So now we have to fix our credit so one day we can be approved for a mortgage. So we have to work on our credit. My GMC Yukon from Alabama sold. I used part of that money as a down payment to get into this Camry, which has been very reliable. I've now got it up to 40,000 miles, and it's been very reliable. It's never let me down. And I've actually grown to love this Camry, believe it or not. At first, it felt like, me and a Toyota. I'm used to driving GMCs and Cadillacs and Benzes. So adjusting to a quote-unquote Toyota economy vehicle has been a challenge for me. But I'm getting 40 miles to the gallon. We spent less than $1,000 on fuel going to California. The advantages of this vehicle are great, and I can't just get up and get out of this vehicle because it's financed, so it's going to have to stick around for a while. Now, the interest rate on this car was ridiculous, so I'm actually trying to pay $1,300 a month. That's about more than double what the monthly payment really is. My goal is to pay this car off in just 2 years instead of 6, because the interest rates are like 10%. I just can't do it. We're trying to get out of this quickly. But this Toyota's been all right. I'm not going to complain. Like, so far it's been very reliable. So out of nowhere, my stupidity hits absolutely new levels. And I go and I purchase a convertible 1995 Mercedes-Benz E320 Cabriolet for $15,000 out the door. It was very fun to own this vehicle for like a weekend. I went back to the dealership and I got my money back. This car was a complete lemon, and luckily the salespeople agreed to just refund me my money. There were some serious issues with that vehicle, and unfortunately for me, I'm going to have to learn some self-control, because if I keep spending money on every single one of these transactions, I'm losing $4, $5, $8, $7, $3, $4, $5,000. And eventually, the money will run out. And it seems like the dumbest thing you could ever do with just a large sum of money. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I hope that now this stupidity of spending money on cars leaves my blood, because I'm starting to realize that it's starting to hurt my family, me and Katie, that I'm spending so much money on vehicles. I got a friend that tells me, Jose, money burns a hole in your pocket, man. You gotta spend it as soon as you got it, man. And he's right. I just need to stop doing this. And I'm starting to see how it went from a healthy thing of, let me spend this. Can I spend $100,000? Is it possible? It's actually like quite difficult to spend that kind of money. Like, you think you could just, if you think it's easy to spend that kind of money, you're going to like, it's hard. It's a full-time job spending money. Like, and like when I realized now, I was like, now I got 2 cars, and like, I don't need these distractions. I really like every one car. You start putting rims on, you got to go to the rim shop. That's a full day. Then you got to go get it in alignment. That's another full day. Then you got to get another oil change. That's a full day. Then you got to take it to the wheel shop to get or the sound systems. Like, even if you're paying other people to do these things for you, it literally becomes a full-time job messing around with these pimped out cars. And I just can't do it anymore. My time needs to be just for my business and my family. Like, I don't want to keep like devoting so much time and so much money into these hobbies. Like, I like it. I love looking at cars, and I love seeing cars and driving cars that are cool. But it's getting to the point where it's starting to hurt my family. Like, I'm starting to feel guilty, because I'm like, here I am buying all these ridiculous cars. Like, what if tomorrow something happens and we need a medical expense? What if tomorrow we need to move and we're not able to move in where we need to because I'm spending money on cars? Like, I'm starting to realize that, like, eventually in the long term, it's going to catch up with me. And I can make the argument that all these are write-offs, or, you know, all, you know, the mileage is like, you know, a deduction. But like, at the end of the day, I need to stop it. And I know it's wrong. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. It's starting to bother my conscience. And it was great that I was able to do it. I learned a lot from these experiences. I can really focus on my work and do well. But when I have free time is when I start to develop these bad habits. And like, we are fixing my credit. It's improved a lot. We have savings that one day could be used for buying a house. So I just need to like stop becoming impatient and wanting things right now. You will sleep so good when you have money in the bank. When you have money in the bank, you don't even have to worry about waking up the next day. I want to have that safety net, you know, of I don't have to worry for the next year or two. I can focus on developing my businesses, my character, getting an education. Like, whatever I'm doing right now, I can do it without having to worry about the next day. There's a freedom that comes from having a little safety net where you really have that peace of mind of, I don't have to worry. Like, money isn't going to be a worry. But when you're putting all your money on the driveway, like, there's a point where I had almost $90,000 sitting on the driveway of a property I was renting. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely obscene. And really, it was a passing thing. I really want to start to just focus on myself, and I need to knock off this vicious thing that I have with vehicles. It makes no sense. And I'm going to admit to you guys that, like, I have come to the conclusion that I need help. I shouldn't be spending this kind of money on vehicles. And it's not a self-esteem issue. For a lot of people, it is. For me, it's actually brought me a lot of problems because people envy those cars. and it brought me problems in Alabama. And in Alabama, they weren't that fancy. But I know in Alabama, I grabbed that Yukon, I put the big wheels on it, had a good sound system, and that made people jealous. And I lifted the front, put the lift kit on it. Definitely stuff like that makes people feel very, very jealous. Even owning real estate made my neighbors jealous in Alabama, so it felt good to rent in Lehigh Acres because I wasn't owning real estate. It was just less for people to envy. But in Lehigh Acres, I actually ended up having some of my neighbors getting really jealous, and it's ironically they had better stuff than I did, but it wasn't about me having better stuff than them. It just was that they didn't want me to have what I had. A bunch of rich kids in the neighborhood, they envied that I was a YouTuber and that I had these cars, and like they literally had better stuff than me. But it wasn't that like about, it wasn't even about like them envying me what I had because I had better stuff. Like again, they had more money than me. It was just they didn't want me to have it. It was like it bothered them that I could have it too, and that I was working for it through YouTube while they were getting it from daddy. And I hate that everybody assumes that every dollar I got came from YouTube. Absolutely not true. Like I have made more money off of real estate than I have ever made off of YouTube. It's just like when you tell people you make money off of YouTube, they don't respect it. Like they'll automatically just assume, oh, you made this money on you. No, dude, I made real estate transactions too, and that real estate was blood, sweat, and tears. Like if anybody's owned real estate and you flipped your way into 3 different properties, you know that that's blood, sweat, tears. Like I did that picking up scrap metal and like, you know, doing trash outs. Like that wasn't free. And one of the things that upsets me the most is how little respect people have. They just want to feel like, they don't even want to accept that you work hard for what you have. They want to believe that you just won this money easy on the internet and you've never worked for it and you just got lucky. Like, no, this hasn't been me and lucky. Like this has been blood, sweat, and tears from day one. Like, and even the YouTube, we were on the road for like 30 days. If you've ever done that, you know what I'm talking about. I don't like to put too much information about myself out there, but I realize that a lot of people just can't stand to listen to somebody who's doing better. But like what those people don't understand is that there's somebody listening to this video right now who has $100 million in real estate or assets, and hearing me talk about spending $100,000, it's like them going out there and buying a cheeseburger. There's just different levels to money. I don't even think we're middle class yet. I think we're kind of almost middle class maybe in the next few years. But what people don't understand is when I talk about money, I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about net worth that's been generated little by little, year after year. And sometimes you have to grab that net worth and transform it into cash or into assets or into investments and hope that somehow it finds its way back to you, because that net worth doesn't just grow by itself. It's like an accordion. There's ups and downs, and if you take too many downs, pretty much you're gonna be like down to nothing. Anyways, that is how I have spent over $132,000. Now that I remember the trailer, I remember all the wheels and that, probably like for sure under $140,000 in a period of like a year, give or take. That's a lot of money to spend on things with wheels, and possibly one of the dumbest things you could ever do. But I lived it, I enjoyed it, I had it, and a little bit of the net worth is still around to continue doing hopefully smarter things. I don't want to hear people talking about investments or buying land or any of that crap. My money's going to sit in the bank so I can sleep at night and not have to worry about where the bills are going to get paid in the next year or two. Investments are for rich people. Assets are for rich people. I'm a regular person. I don't need investments. I don't need net worth. What I need is to make sure that we have the things we need every day. And all these, you need to get rich, you need to become an investor, you need to buy real estate. How do I buy real estate without money type of YouTubers that are out there, bro? These people are pushing out a toxic idea of what a human needs to be. Recently, YouTuber Grant Cardone mentioned in a video that if you're not making $400,000 a year, you're garbage. No, you don't need to make $400,000 a year. You need to make happiness a year. People portray on social media a lifestyle that is so unrealistic to the reality of their situation. Like, even myself, I'm guilty of it. If you saw my Instagram, it's trips to California. I bought another new vehicle. I'm eating at some fancy restaurant. It's like when you post stuff on the gram, it is so far-fetched from your everyday reality. People ain't posting stuff on the gram unless it's a rented Lambo. And that's an unrealistic expectation for what a human needs to be. Everything you see I go on my phone right now, like I'm just gonna grab my phone right now and I'm gonna see what comes up. I'm gonna just go on Facebook. Pompano Fishing, Adobe Acrobat ad, local news story, La Pulga, Brownsville, semi-truck for $50,000. Cars and Bids wants me to join them. Let's see here, a pigeon, somebody YouTube, a car for sale in Naples, a Dodge Prowler for $32,000. It's only got 13,000 miles. All I had to do was pick up my phone, and in 5 seconds, I had 3 people telling me to buy cars. So we're depicting a lifestyle on the internet that isn't really realistic. And again, I'm guilty of it myself. And I want to stop portraying this image to my audience that I'm just spending all this money. In reality, like, I have a car payment on. I'm upside down like $8,000 on it, okay? I have a little bit of savings. If I don't pay attention and I blow money, I could end up homeless a year from now. Look, I was just in Las Vegas, and one of the things that just caught me off guard, and I mean really caught me off guard, is that some of the homeless people that I saw in Las Vegas were wearing like designer clothes, or they had specific pieces of clothing that are like literally almost a monthly mortgage payment. I saw people living in their cars, their luxury brand cars. So here's somebody who was buying a BMW or Mercedes, wearing Balenciaga and Prada and Gucci and Chanel, and now they're homeless, but they still have this $350 pair of shoes. And that's a wake-up call to me that it ain't about the shoes, it ain't about the car. Get your crap together, start working for a future, and stop literally looking at Instagram and Facebook, because it's an unrealistic expectation that isn't available. And I'm also glad that I was able to do these things and experience these things so I can share with you guys what I've been going through, which, if you're watching from home, looks like complete madness. But sometimes that desire to prove other people wrong, like when I saw people envying me in Alabama, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give you something to envy for real. And there's a little bit of a healthy aspect to being dedicated to being successful, but there's also an unhealthy level. And I think that in my case, I have hit unhealthy levels. All the problems that I had in Alabama, or a vast majority of them, stemmed from jealousy of other people. In Lehigh Acres, I did run into some problems there because of jealousy of other people. And I don't want to do that again. Like, I want to be the person that drives a piece of crap car to the floor. Even when I had the GMC Yukon and like had the white truck before that was all beat up and dirty, people still envy me back then. But I've hit new levels of envies, and then somebody tries to up you one, so then you go another step ahead and outdo them. And like, I can't keep doing this to myself. It doesn't even bring me happiness anymore. Like, I just realized with this Mercedes-Benz, it's just another thing to consume my time. It's just another thing I don't want to have any, like, one of the beauties about how I live now is I don't own the place I live, so I don't have to worry about it. The car I own really belongs to the bank if you think about it. So like, I don't have to worry about any of this stuff. And if you own a house or a piece of land or a vehicle, you're worried about it because it's yours. And that is what I'm trying to eliminate. I want to eliminate the worries. I want to eliminate all of that time-consuming maintenance that everything you buy requires. I heard Mike Tyson say, anybody who thinks money will bring them happiness has clearly never had a lot of money. And you're talking about a guy who's had 300 or 400 million dollars possibly. You can still like get sick in a mansion. You can still have your wife run off with a neighbor in a mansion. But you could be very happy with your wife, dogs, and bed bugs in a mobile home with an old beat up truck, especially if nobody's envying you for it. I'm not saying you should settle for that, because what's bad about being poor isn't that. What's bad about being poor is when you don't have medications. When somebody's sick and you're watching somebody and you're like, man, if I just had $300, I could fix this problem, but I don't even have that. That's where poverty becomes a problem. Well, there it is, guys. That is how I feel about this situation. I hope I can become more mature, and I hope that in the future I can continue to enjoy great things, but in a way that doesn't take up my time or consume my energy. If a year and a half, 2 years from now, I've paid off this Camry and my credit's better, and I want to buy a $70,000 pickup truck, and it's coming from my income, not from my net worth, then I could definitely do it. And I hope in the meantime, I stop doing all these stupid, time-consuming purchases. Because it's not just the money it takes from you, it's the time it takes away from your life to sit there and scrub another pair of wheels, go do another oil change. You get what I'm saying? Alright guys, there it is. I'm going to be sleeping better tonight that Mercedes-Benz is back in the dealership and not on my driveway with 50 different problems. I just got to work on my self-control. I really do. Checking out, make sure you guys get in the comment section. Do you think I'm being mature by experiencing life and doing things? Or do you think it's time that I get some self-control? It's all about balance too. I've seen people who have millions of dollars and they don't enjoy none of it. That's taking it to the other extreme. So we just got to find balance.